Hi, my name is Carlos Hernandez, and welcome to my thesis project, Cook Food. My thesis explores how traveling exhibits can flourish in non-traditional host sites by creating opportunities for authority sharing and co-creation with host communities. I was inspired to pursue this topic by my time volunteering with a small nonprofit to host traveling exhibits in Birmingham, Alabama, where we always tried to integrate stories from our community into the exhibit but didn't always have the right resources to do so. The subject for applying this needed to be something universal yet unique across diverse communities, and there are few experiences more universal yet varied than the experience of cooking, eating, and sharing food. It is beneficial for our physical health as well as our social and emotional well-being. This exhibit will explore the role cooking, eating, and sharing food plays in connecting us to each other, developing our identities, and building confidence and creativity. The title is also the call to action, to cook food. This is a subject that is very important to me personally. The first thing I wanted to be growing up was a chef before becoming a designer, and cooking is still one of my passions. The client is the Museum of Food and Drink in Brooklyn. Their values and beliefs are all about the intersection of food and the human experience, tying it together through education, storytelling, and fun. America's Test Kitchen will serve as the presenting partner. I love America's Test Kitchen. They're all about making cooking accessible and helping people feel confident and capable in the kitchen. They have tested thousands of recipes and cooking techniques, making them an excellent content partner for this exhibit. For the audience, I'm focusing on hobbyists and explorers interested in growing their relationship with food and cooking, and those old enough to have agency in the kitchen and to have developed their own memories and identities around food that they can explore and share with the exhibit. The goals include extending the reach of the Museum of Food and Drink to new communities, creating opportunities for collaboration and connection in host communities that the exhibit travels to, and exploring how connected food and cooking is to our mental, physical, and social well-being. Because they really are tightly linked. As I was developing the content areas for this exhibit, there was so much overlap between concepts. For example, I couldn't think about memories related to food without thinking about the physical spaces those memories were made and the friends and family filling those spaces. So I wanted to include a balance of areas that touch on the physical, social, and emotional aspects of cooking and food. We will be walking through this traveling exhibit in its originating venue, the Museum of Food and Drink, but this space shares many characteristics with non-traditional host sites, such as limited available wall space and a very tight column grid. It is a single, rotating gallery space on the second floor of the Empire Store's mixed-use development in Dumbo. The exhibit will then travel out to collaborate with communities across the country. Each activity in the exhibit provides opportunities for multiple levels of engagement and co-creation with the host communities. Hosting organizations are given resources to customize the content to their communities in small or large ways, from adding print content and community curated objects to contributing to multimedia experiences. Those resources also include graphic style guides. The look and feel for this exhibit takes inspiration from plates and bowls, assembling to set a communal experience, with colors drawn from fresh, herbaceous ingredients and the warmth of fire and spices. Photography and textures are used sparingly, allowing visitors to project their own ideas of food onto the graphics. The versatile and approachable branding font family is used for all levels of type, since it's always good to have a strong multitasker in the kitchen. The style guide also includes posters for off-site wayfinding and advertising, prompting visitors to start thinking about their relationship to food on the way to the exhibit, and temporary floor graphics and a custom sandwich board for on-site wayfinding. The Museum of Food and Drink, like other non-traditional host spaces, can sometimes be tricky to navigate to, especially for special or temporary events like a traveling exhibit. Which brings us into the exhibit. This is how the content areas map out into the Museum of Food and Drink, but the elements can shift and rearrange to accommodate future sites. The visitor flow is open-ended. After passing through the introduction and checking in, visitors are free to circulate through the content areas as they choose. When visitors enter, they are introduced to the graphic language of the exhibit as well as the structural language. Content graphics are direct printed to plywood panels for durability on the road, but wood is also a texture found in kitchens around the world, providing a familiar backdrop for the content. The elements are sized to weave and work around diverse host site conditions like dense columns and low ceilings, and are designed to be quickly and easily installed and broken down for traveling, with consideration for floor leveling and concealed space for supporting tech and ballasting. From there we arrive at the first activity area, Practice and skills. We often learn our skills in the kitchen from others, whether from family members or from people in books or on the internet. Practicing and applying these skills can build others such as planning, problem solving, and fine motor skills. Visitors are invited to learn about the far-reaching effects of cooking skills and then practice along with a selection of 3D printed replica utensils, some familiar and some less so. I'm sure we've all been in someone else's kitchen looking for a spoon or spatula and found some wild looking utensils, and the best way to learn what they do and how to use them is from someone who knows how. Picking up a tool will start a demonstration presented by America's Test Kitchen, or if the host venue is able, they can print their own utensil and record a demonstration from a local cook. Next up is kitchen creativity. It's easy to fall back on the same recipes over and over, but trying new things in the kitchen can be a great outlet for creativity, not only to experience something new for ourselves, but as a way to connect with people with different preferences or dietary restrictions. This interactive presents visitors with a variety of flavor profiles and diets, from sweet to savory to gluten sensitive to vegan, that they can mix to discover new recipes. Touching a profile button activates a projection mapped overlay, and they can add more profiles until a recipe is generated from America's Test Kitchen's vast database, which host venues can also contribute to. The activity is large enough that family and friends can work together to find the perfect recipe for all of their tastes. Moving on to social spaces, this area explores how cooking and sharing food shapes and activates social space. Each place setting at this long communal table is set for a unique gathering, from a backyard cookout to afternoon tea or a tamalada, the holiday gathering that consumes entire houses to make tamales. The placemat is an interactive screen that transports visitors into the space to learn more about it and the objects at the table. Directional speakers in the overhead plate installation further immerse visitors into the scene. On the other side, we have sharing our identities, which highlights the role sharing food plays in how we communicate our cultures and identities to others. Hosts can use this space to program community potlucks, bringing the real experience of sharing food into the exhibit. When there is no programming, the buffet line is populated with replica recipes made for sharing. Next, we explore the connection between food and memory through objects and personal narratives, such as kitchen heirlooms and family recipes. So many of our memories are tied to the food we cook for each other or have been cooked for us. Hosts can source stories and artifacts from their community to display, and visitors can share their own favorite recipes or food memory. I would share my grandma's recipe for pozole, a style of Mexican corn and pork stew that is unlike any pozole I've ever seen in restaurants or anyone else's kitchen, and it makes me feel really connected to that part of my family and my childhood every time I cook it. We've talked a lot about how great cooking is so far, but it's important to recognize that many people have a complicated relationship with cooking and food. This area addresses common barriers people face with cooking, including time, access, and skills or confidence. Visitors physically move past a barrier to learn more about it through visualized data and personal stories from their community. They then discover on the other side of that barrier that each circle is a past visitor experiencing that barrier. The visitor is invited to contribute their own circle if they also struggle with that barrier, knowing that they are not alone in their experience. I prototyped this activity with my cohort, and unsurprisingly, every one of us was experiencing time as a barrier to cooking the past few months. The final area is a customizable community resource pantry that hosts can curate, from selling locally produced goods, providing a cookbook library, posting information for local cooking classes, or hosting a food pantry. The other areas so far provide opportunities to blend community content with the exhibit, whereas this provides a space that communities can fully customize on their own. After the run of the exhibit, all of the community contributed recipes, stories, and experiences are collected into a unique community cookbook and website, and then cooked food travels on to a new community. The exhibit elements can easily reconfigure to fit a variety of spaces within a 2,500 square foot footprint. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Thank you.